Hello, Gunpla fans of YouTube. It's time for another Gunpla review. Today I'm taking a look at something that is not a mobile suit at all. It's a kit that I feel like is often overlooked, especially considering that there really aren't that many reviews of it. And believe me, I looked. When I built this kit last year, I was looking at trying to find some other reviews of it, and there really aren't that many, which I thought was kind of strange. So, maybe I should take a look at it. So, let's take a look at the Master Grade G Fighter. Buckle up, as this may be a long one. There's a lot of stuff to cover on this kit. So here it is, the finished Master Grade G Fighter in its basic form. The kit came out in 2009 with a price of 5,600 yen. This functions as an accessory of sorts to the Master Grade Gundam 2.0, Granddaddy Gundam, right here. And as you can see by a little quick comparison here, it is a pretty big accessory to the Gundam. While you can buy this kit by itself, it really only stands to shine with the Gundam 2.0 kit along with it here. And additionally, you might want to also have a action-based one on hand as well for this kit for obvious reasons. Now this version here is the anime color version. You can get, and this is a separate kit from the Gundam. However, there is a real type version of the G Fighter that you can get with the Master Grade G Armor kit. And that big kit goes for 9,800 yen, which is pretty expensive. So if you prefer that version, with the real type Gundam, you can get those kits together as one big kit, and that's a lot of kit to build, by the way. So I kind of know what you're probably thinking off the top of your head here. Isn't this thing just a big flying plastic box? Well, yes, it kind of is, but also, no, it isn't. It is a big plastic box, but it does so much more. This thing is probably more like a big Transformers toy, or more like the Power Rangers Zords. There's a whole lot of different transformations and modes to this thing here, and it does quite a lot here. The multiple forms and modes it can take, as well as some of the additional enhancements of being in the Master Grade 2.0 era of kits here. It's packed with a lot of mechanical detail, though a lot of it is probably going to be on the inside of the kit and not so much on the outside of the kit here. So as you're building this kit, it's basically divided into two parts here. You have the A parts, which mostly covers the front half of the kit here, and there's also the B parts, which covers the back half of the kit. Construction is surprisingly complex for such a simple looking machine. As you can probably see here, there is quite a lot of stuff going on the inside of the kit here, especially with this whole unit itself right here. There's going to be several parts that you're going to need to pay careful attention to the orientation marks, because there's a lot of parts that will only go in one way in order for this thing to go together correctly. So it's probably especially stuff like this here. You're going to want to pay close attention to make sure you actually put the parts together correctly. So even just skimming through the manual here, you might get the idea that this is actually a pretty complex kit here, so I would suggest you might want to take your time with this kit here, because there's a lot of stuff to pay attention to on this thing. So just like any of the big transforming Gundam Master Grade kits here, this thing is kind of much the same here, so you're going to want to pay attention and take your time with this kit. Alright, so I'm going to go over the accessories before I start getting into the various modes and transformations of this guy here. And yes, for a Master Grade kit that is not a mobile suit, there's actually quite a lot of accessories that come with this thing here. Alright, so I'm going to start with the landing gears first here. These plug right into the slots on the underside of the G Fighter. Kind of just as so here. Now for the front gear, there's basically just a hatch that pops off. This plugs in right here, comes off, and you can stick it on the landing gear. Just like so you don't have to lose it. The ones on the back here, there's an actual little hatch you have to open up. And this is pretty easy. Just opens up like so. And plug the gear in. Pretty simple. Now there is another mode for having this thing displayed on the ground as so. That involves having the treads on the outside of the kit, but that is part of the transformation stuff, so I will get to that later when I start showing off the transformations here. Alright, you get 2 action-based adapters for this kit here. This first one here, this big one here, is quite nice, and I like this one as it plugs right into the spots that the landing gears have, just like so. Goes in pretty nicely. It has an adjustment on it so you can angle the G-Fighter on the action base stand however you want. It's kind of a sharp angle, which would be like that, and you can have kind of a shallower angle like this here. Now for attaching this onto the action base stand, you actually have to have this type of action base, and you have to take this part off the end and then just plug this on to the end like so. So it goes on just like that. This other adapter here is for attaching to the tank treads when they are on the outside of the kit. This adapter will just plug onto the normal attachment on the action base like so here, so you don't have to take anything apart on this. Now the only thing is that offhand I don't know if these adapters will actually attach to the newer action bases, the action base 4. Since I don't have one of those on hand, I can't really test this out, so if you only have one of those, these may or may not work. I can't really say for certain if they do or not, but the action-based ones are still pretty easy to get a hold of, so you can always try and find one of these here for this kit. This part here is really just an adapter for G-Bull, which I will get to later on. This big honking thing here is some kind of internal power generator that goes inside the G-Fighter while the treads are on the outside of the kit, or when it's in the G-Sky Easy mode. This does come with an adapter on the front here for the G-Sky. The core fighter would plug into this here, and just kind of just sticks on the front of this part here at the moment here right now. This piece here, there's a lot of internal detail packed into this thing here. This thing is almost like a high-grade kit all by itself here. There's just a lot of plastic here, and this kind of layers on top of it here. So again, kind of as I mentioned, most of the internal detail is on the inside of this kit here, so this is a pretty good example of that here. And there is another internal adapter. You can kind of only see part of it right here. It's this little gray plastic piece right here. There's more of it on the inside here, but this is just for the normal mode of the G-Fighter. And you'll probably see more of that when I get into the transformation. Okay, as for pilot figures, you get quite a few with this kit here. You have standing figures of Sailor Mass and Slugger Law here. You also get their seated pilot figures as well. This here is the Slugger Law one, and I went ahead and put the Sailor Mass one on the inside of the kit here and painted that up here. You also get a couple of deck crew figurines with this kit as well, so you can use these in a diorama if you want. This kit does come with an extra Gundam shield for the G armor mode. This shield is a duplicate of the one that comes with the Gundam 2.0 kit, with one little exception here. This kit has a little plug right here that does not exist on the original shield on this guy here, so this is for taking off the arm attachment and storing it up here for when the shields combine, and I'll probably go ahead and show you what that looks like here. Alright, so in order to double up the shields, you have to take the arm attachment off the one that goes on the Gundam. This is a little easier to do than it is shown. I'll be very careful when trying to take this off so you don't break anything. There we go, pops off. What you're going to want to do next is take these little gray peg parts out. As so, take those out. Now on this one has the gray pegs also, but you're going to want to reconfigure these so that the long end sticks through the shield, like so that it sticks out the front, like that. Alright, once you got those pegs through, you're going to want to take the yellow cross piece off of this one here. Just carefully take it off and try not to bend or damage this piece here, and just Set it off to the side. Now as you got these separated, you can actually just plug these together as so. Press them together. Shields are held together. You got a double shield. This extra leftover handle part will go right here. Sort of plug that in for storage. And see if I can move this out of the way. So it'll be like that. And plug it back onto the Gundam, and the Gundam now has double the shield power on one arm. Pretty cool. Now, in addition to that extra shield, this kit does come with a specific extra for the Master Grade Gundam 2.0. This comes with the Hyper Hammer right here. This is the upgraded form of the Gundam Hammer that came with the Master Grade Gundam 2.0 kit here. And I think this is a much nicer looking weapon. It's much spikier and dangerous looking. Except for the handle here, which is kind of a lack thereof of a handle. I don't really know what this is supposed to be here. But that's definitely not a handle, but that is just the way the Hyper Hammer looks. So you can have that with the Gundam 2.0 and use it as you see fit. In terms of markings, this kit comes with the usual sticker markings and dry transfer markings. I think this is probably one of those kits that looks perfectly fine without any markings on the kit here, so it's up to you if you want to use these or not. The only thing I will say though is that there are quite a bit of markings that actually go on internal parts on this kit here, so pay attention to that as you're building, because it's easier to apply those as you're building rather than trying to do it after the fact once everything is together. Okay, as for some gimmicks on the G-Fighter itself here, the cockpit will open up as shown. Let me get my fingernail in here and get that open. This kind of lifts up and slides back a little bit, so it opens up just like that, and close it back up and slide it forward here. So I can get it here, get my fingernail on it. There we go. Just like that. These big beam cannons on the top here have quite a lot of range to them here, so they can go up and down like so, and this whole unit can go all the way around like so. You can even aim down a little bit if you want, like that. The only thing about these, I do think they do feel like a tad flimsy. There's like a lot of play in these beam cannons I found. They you can easily bend them apart, bend them together like so. I don't know what, it kind of feels like the polycaps are probably not quite the right size for this thing, but it's not like it's going to fall apart on you or anything. It's just, it just feels a little flimsy. Now on the nose here, there is a couple of drop-down missile launchers. They basically drop down like so. I find that one likes to open up easily, the other one not so much. There we go, I got it. But they come down just like that. Plug them back up. The other option for the missiles is to basically just have the whole nose section drop down, like so. Just opens up, so the missiles can shoot forward, like so. Kind of a weird thing to have for the missile to shoot forward, but that's the way the G-Fighter is. Just close that back up, like that. On the back underside of the G-Fighter, there is a drop-down missile launcher as well, just like in the front. This one's a little harder to get. You might want to get a toothpick for this one, but it drops down just like that with 4 little missiles shown right there. Just pop that back closed like that. On top of the G-Fighter here are these little hatches, little flip-up hatches. These here are for hooking around the feet of the Gundam so that it can stay attached while it is riding the G-Fighter. So with those hatches, the Gundam can stand on top of the G-Fighter just like so right here. It helps a little bit. I wouldn't try and flip it upside down or anything, because obviously the Gundam's just going to fall right off of this here. So, but there you go. Alright, so everything else gimmick and articulation wise on this kit is going to be part of the transformation. So let's take a deep breath and let's start on that. And also you're definitely going to want to have the manual on hand for this one, as there's a lot of stuff to keep track of here. So let's begin. Okay, first off, we're going to convert the G Fighter into its alternate mode with the tank treads on the exterior here. To do that, we're going to need to separate the A parts from the B parts here. If you follow the reverse of the manual, you're going to just need to pull the A parts forward, like so, and disconnect them. And then the next thing you're going to do is open up the big bay doors on the bottom of the kit here. Just try and work your fingernail in and grab them and open those up. Here is that other internal adapter I mentioned earlier. You can just pull that right out, like so, and just set that aside because you don't really need that. So there's a little tab here that helps hold the doors in place. Just slide that back out of the way. Now to get the A parts off the B parts here, they're just going to tip the whole thing kind of forward a little bit like this, and then pull forward, and it just comes right off. And there you have your A parts and your B parts. Okay, on the A parts here, there's this little arm mechanism here. You're going to just want to take that off. It's just clipped on there. Just take that off because you're going to need this here for the B parts here in a second. Just set this aside for the moment because you'll come back to this here. Alright, so on the B parts here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to fold the doors onto the inside and just fold them around like so. So we get tucked onto the inside of the part here. Make sure you get it worked in correctly here. There we go, just like that. Now you're going to take this little arm piece here, you're going to pop it into this little slot up here, like so, and just fold it down like that. Next, you're going to take this big internal generator piece here and just pop that inside, push it in, and it is in place. Now on the A parts here, you're going to need to fold this entire tread mechanism down. There's a complex folding joint up here in front of this here, so you just want to kind of carefully work that down till you have something that's kind of like this here. Now on the B parts here, there's a little peg tab right there. That needs to go in this little hole right here on the treads here. So just kind of line that up, get that in there, like so. And you're going to need to kind of carefully line these parts up and slide them together. You may need to adjust this a little bit. It doesn't look quite right there. Give me a second to fix that. Alright, there we go. Looks a little better. Don't worry about it. I almost never get that right on the first try because there's like 3 different points of articulation in that joint there, and you got to make sure it's all lined up correctly here. So anyway, that's the treads on sort of the partially internal facing out mode. So there is another form of this where the treads are on the outside, completely on the outside of the B parts here. To do that, just going to need to take all this apart again here. So and carefully work the treads off here, pull that off, kind of work the treads off here. It may end up attached to the generator piece here. Let's work that off, that side. Take the generator piece out, go ahead and fold these doors back out, like so. And this little arm piece here, you just want to grab that and pull it out like so. And again, take the generator piece. Then this piece is going to slip between the gap on the generator part. Just going to let it slip down like that, and fold this down. And you're going to slide this little tab back out to hold the doors in place, and just close it up like that. So back on the A parts here, you're going to need to move this joint back down, kind of a bit like so. Okay, so kind of once you've got that adjusted, this peg on this part is going to go into this hole right here. So let's see, we can just work that in there here really carefully. I'll work it in and just slide this together here. This can be a little tricky sometimes. You're going to need to finagle with it just a little bit to get everything to stay together here. Alright, there we go. Got it in there right. You got to kind of finagle with it a little bit because sometimes it doesn't want to go together cleanly. But anyway, there it is with the tank treads on the outside of the main body here. Now if you want to have this up on the action base, that's what this other action base adapter here is for. That kind of plugs right into here on the bottom of the tank treads, like so. And that'll just go on top of the action base. And I'll just go on top of this piece. Just like that. Okay, so next up is going to be the G armor mode. So you're going to need to go ahead and disassemble the G fighter. As I've shown here, I've gone ahead and already done that here. B parts, A parts, you're going to need the arm. You're going to obviously need a Gundam 2.0. Go ahead and take the weapons off of that if you haven't already, and just kind of set them aside. Alright, so what you're going to want to do first is kind of prep the Gundam for going into a G armor. You're going to go ahead and tilt the beam sabers up straight, like so. You're going to need to pull the arms apart slightly, just a little bit, don't have to be too far out, basically about that much here. Now on the bottom here, there is the action base connector. That's where this little arm is going to be attached to here. So pretty much it's just going to clip right on to where the action base connector would normally go on, just like that. We're going to go ahead and bend this part down so. Now the feet you're going to fold in, carefully try and fold these feet down here. See if I can get this to go here, and go pretty much about like that. Alright, next up you're going to take the B parts here. Now these side sections, these are going to flip all the way around. So you're basically going to take them, detach them, fold them back. Let me get the doors out of the way here real quick. Fold them back, like so. And this piece here, you're just going to push on that till it slides in, like so. And do the same to the other side. Alright, once you got that configured, you figured the Gundam is pretty much about ready to go in. Go ahead and straighten the legs up a bit. And you're just going to kind of carefully work this in here. And this little piece will slide into the slot on top. Just like that. Make sure I get the feet in here. Alright, so it's going to be like that. This piece is going to stick down the same as before, and make sure you slide that little tab up and close the doors up. And there you go. Alright, so on the A parts here, you're going to need to set this up a little bit here. You're going to want to pull this back all the way, move this tab back a little bit, like so. There's a couple of little tabs that are right here. I'm going to go ahead and get those out. This top one's a little hard to get, but there you go. Got it out like that. Okay, so the top half of the Gundam is going to go inside of here. There's little two holes right here, there and there. That's where the beam sabers are going to fit into. So go ahead and line it up. So, fit around. The little gray piece is going to fit around the gap between the shoulder armor and the torso. Just kind of work it in. So that's like that. Okay, next part is a little tricky. You're going to try and line these little tabs up with the hard points on the back of the Gundam and the back of the B part here. So kind of need to just kind of work this together here carefully until everything just fits together here. Okay, so now that we got that on, this is most of the work right here. Now, next part, there are these little arms that are on the side of the B parts. Just kind of fold those out. These are going to help to hold the shields in place once you get them on here. So go ahead and pop those out. Alright, you're going to take your two shields and kind of get these ready here. Go ahead and slide them all the way back and have them ready. Basically kind of like this. And the other one, just do the opposite on. Flip it this way, shove it down. And go ahead and get the beam rifle on here if you want. It should be on there while it's in G armor mode, so go ahead and put your beam rifle on. Then just go ahead and attach the shield on here. This is a little tricky to do, but it's kind of hard to do on video here. Just take your time. Actually, I may need to move this up here. That plugged in. Flip it around, and this little piece will hook on to the end of the shield, so that it goes on like that. Alright, and there you go. You have the G Fortress, and this thing is quite big and very long. It's actually hard to get this in the shot entirely here, but there it is. G Fighter and Gundam in one big unit. And if you want this on the action-based stand, you're going to need to use this adapter here. Alright, now for the other two modes here. You're going to need to take the G armor apart here so you can make the other two modes here. So let's go ahead and start getting this thing apart. Disconnect the shields here. Get this other one here. Disconnect that. You are going to take this apart, but what you're going to do instead of taking the whole thing apart is before you're going to make sure you separate here at the Gundam. So you have the two parts of the Gundam separate with this unit here. Get this beam rifle here, so unhook the bottom here and just sort of carefully take this apart where the Gundam is here. Get this apart here, just like that. Alright. So we're going to start with top half first here in order to make the G-Bull. Alright, so for the G-Bull, you want to go ahead and make sure you take the core fighter out here because we do need to transform this here. Grab that and pull that out. Now for the treads here, you're going to need to go ahead and unplug it from the back here. Go ahead and fold these two tabs in. Slide this tab forward and you're going to flip this little unit out here. Flip that out and actually make sure the little tab is sticking up on that. And this is going to attach into the backpack on the Gundam right here. So you're going to need to move this entire unit as far forward as you can. Alright, there we go. Got it. And go ahead and get that plugged into the back of the Gundam. Like so. Go ahead and straighten these arms out. The beam rifle really does not like to stay in the hand here. So before I go ahead and put the core fighter in here, this here is pretty much what the manual lists as the G-Bull Easy, and that's pretty much just doesn't have the core fighter in there. The only thing is this is technically not really accurate because what I saw on the Gundam wiki is that the G-Bull Easy should not have any of the Gundam parts in it at all. It just has the shields on it. So, and as far as I'm aware, there's not any way to attach the shields onto the A parts here without having the Gundam arms on there, so I guess it's sort of like the G-Bull Easy, but not quite the same as it is officially. So there you go. Okay, so get into the proper G-Bull configuration, you do need the core fighter. You're going to want to partially transform this here, so bring it back out so you can get the nose cone out. Go ahead and flip this and straighten up the cockpit so that's the right side up here. And just go ahead and fold this back down. You're going to want to use this adapter that I showed you earlier. Core fighter should just slip right into this here. Just like that. And this is going to plug right into back into the Gundam here. Just like so. Just kind of straighten that up and there you go. You have the G-Bull here. You can go ahead and flip the cannons around if you want, so it's facing this way, and that's your G-Bull right there. Alright, so for G-Sky, you're going to take the B parts with the Gundam legs in them. To transform this back, you're going to go ahead and slide this part forward, and just flip this unit all the way back. Make sure those little arms are back in place where they were before, and just slide the whole unit back in place here, without catching anything here. Go. Like that. Alright, and then you're going to take that adapter off of the generator part for the core fighter and stick it on the front of this here. It goes right there. And you're going to take the core fighter off the G-Bull, go ahead and transform it into its flight mode. And what you're just going to stick that on the end here, and there you go. You have your G-Sky. Now for the G-Sky Easy, it's pretty simple. You're just going to swap the legs out for that generator part and just stick that back in here and just have the core fighter stuck on the front of it. And that is the G-Sky Easy. Alright, so for the very last configuration mode you can do with this thing, which is the Gundam Sky, you're going to need to put the Gundam back together here. You can go ahead and leave the feet folded if you've already done that before. You're going to need this little arm adapter here. What you're going to do is you're going to flip this around so that it connects to the front side of the Gundam and stick this back on the action base. It's basically going to go on the opposite of the way it did before here. So the Gundam will be facing downwards inside the unit here. I'm going to take the B parts here, and you're going to just slide the Gundam in here. Make sure this little piece slides into that slot back there. Hold it in. Get in there. There you go. It's in there. Close up the doors. And you now have yourself the G-Sky, which is flying Gundam with some giant rocket boosters on the feet here. So there you go. Whoa! As you can see, that is a lot of stuff to cover here. So there's a lot of different options for displaying this kit along with the Gundam 2.0 here. There's so much you can do with this kit, provided of course you have the Gundam 2.0 to go along with it. And yes, in case you were wondering, you can use the Gym 2.0 kit with this as well, as it's roughly the same sort of kit as the Gundam 2.0. I don't know offhand if the Gundam 3.0 will combine with the G-Fighter here. Probably not, but if anybody has one and happens to have a G-Fighter as well, let me know in the comments below if it actually will combine with this or not. Overall, I think this is a very fascinating master grade kit, both to build and configure. It's a shame it's so overlooked, as the level of engineering and quality put into it really does kind of stand out to me. It's not an easy kit to transform. It certainly takes some practice and understanding to figure out here. But it's certainly no Zeta Gundam in terms of level of complexity here. I did have some parts fall off the kit while I was transforming it. It just kind of happens. I probably wouldn't do this too often with the Gundam 2.0. My old Master Grade Gundam 2.0 is starting to actually show its age now, and the joints are loosening up on it, so it was becoming a little bit of a hassle to get it to work with the G-Fighter here. But I would say once it's all together into its various modes, it's actually surprisingly solid once you actually get it all together here. The only con to me was really the one I kind of mentioned earlier, that the beam cannons just feel a little flimsy on this thing. But everything else I think is pretty well done as well as it can be for a kit that's as complicated as the G-Fighter. If you've been curious about this kit like I have and have a Gundam 2.0 kit, I would very much recommend you pick one up. I was quite pleased with it. I was surprised by it. It's a fun build, semi-challenging, and especially if you want to build something different in the Master Grade line, I think this kit is definitely up there. So if you just want a completely different building experience, consider this kit. If you don't have a Master Grade Gundam 2.0 kit, then there probably is not really much to this kit here. It may not be as worthwhile to get. As I mentioned, this is really just a big accessory to the Master Grade Gundam 2.0. So without one, there's really not a whole lot you can do with this kit. Well, that was a lot to cover. I hope you found this interesting. Let me know what you think about this kit in the comments below. We'll add on one more thing here. This kit does come with a couple of little mystery parts here. You can see them right here. They look like parts that would go in the backpack of a mobile suit with thruster barrels attached, but there's really nothing like that with the G-Fighter. And there's really nothing. They don't serve any purpose in the other G-Armor kit either. So they're crossed out in the manuals of both kits here. So to this day, I don't think anybody knows what these are for. So if you have any idea, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, these will be relegated to an eternal mystery of Gunpla here, I guess. Anyway, that's going to be it for the review here. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.